So David, did you take a look at those things that were from the YouTube, or did you go to a lot of those sessions, the storm surge?
I went to a lot of the ones until they shifted it to Wednesday. I haven't caught up on the one you were talking about, but I know,
Wendy Goldsmith?
I don't know her, but somebody at the commission had mentioned that she's really hot stuff.
We're on air.
Okay, well, there we go. I'd like to call a meeting of June the 4th of the Planning Board of the Town of Newbury to order. And our first order of business is the meeting minutes. Now, we just did get them late. Did everyone have a chance to look at them?
I did.
Oh,
Yes.
You did? You did? You did? Okay, can I have a motion for approval?
Move to
Or any,
accept.
or, excuse me, any comments on them?
I think you have to have a motion first and a second, and then
Okay.
you can have discussion.
Thank you so much,
You're
Madam Town Planner. So we have a motion. We have a second.
Yeah, okay.
Are there any comments on it?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we have also a note from Martha that the two A&Rs for tonight will not come forward. Is that correct?
That's correct. There were some revisions that needed to be done to both of them and some questions.
So could I ask a question on the 100 Newburyport? Is that related to the people who came before us before?
There's no mention of them. I don't know if it's related or not, or if he's found somebody else that is interested in it. Basically, they're essentially merging most of 100 and 108 Newburyport Turnpike and just making a small,
So the proponent here is the existing property owner?
yes, yes.
Is this the site of the trailers?
Yeah.
So,
Breaking off a lot or just merging the two?
They're changing a
existing?
lot line and making one really small and merging the rest of that
Into
lot
one
with,
big
yeah,
lot,
into one big
okay.
lot.
so would that now go through all the way to Middle Road?
No. No, it
Just the
doesn't.
one, because he doesn't he own the Middle Road lot too?
I think he does, but that one wasn't included before, and it's still not
Yeah,
included.
because you
Yeah.
need
Does
to,
he
I
have
think,
them under different names?
He does, I think, one is like Weasel Realty Trust, and the others are like BM,
well, all I was gonna
BST or
say
something.
is that we need to be
BST.
aware of the fact that if those two lots should be merged, then we need to look at the fact that one of them has a stream running through it, and so it sort of changes the nature of the result, et cetera.
And then the 217, 221, that's just that residential property on the corner? Is that what that is?
No, it's not on the corner, it's,
This is a commercial?
no, it's, no, it's not Fernald's,
No.
it's,
Fernald is the name of the proponent, though.
right, it's actually 3 family members, and they're small lots, they're lots that were created back in, I wanna say the 50s, it was
Okay.
Ralph Thurlow?
Randy Thurlow.
Randy Thurlow,
Randy
maybe,
Thurlow?
maybe,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
along
that's-
High Road.
That's
and they
Fred's
were-
father, yeah.
Okay, and they were,
Is it on our
basically all.
side of the road, or is it on,
It's on your, yeah, it's on your, our side of the road,
And
yeah.
is it
Right
up
at the curve.
the curve?
It's
Oh, it's on this side of the river.
Yes, this side of the
Oh,
river.
okay.
Yep.
And it's on where that, yeah, I
Yeah.
still can't figure out where it is.
No,
the
didn't know
house
that.
is set back, isn't it? That's that one.
No, there's actually, the 221 is it's kind of a modern-looking brick with elongated
Yeah, I
windows.
know that one.
And it
With-
looks like it looks like a double
Yep.
lot,
Right?
but,
Oh, I know it now,
okay,
because they've been doing work in the side yard.
right, and the side yard is actually
I got
been
it.
given to,
Do you know the one?
her
that's
grandson.
It's a brick ranch. Maybe it's a split level or something like that,
But
right?
it's modern-looking,
Modern, yeah.
yeah.
Not exactly Frank Lloyd Wright, but modern looking, you know? Okay, so that's those two, and then in your note, you indicated that we might have another A&R for 80 Hanover?
60 Hanover.
60 Hanover.
If you've gone by it, it's owned by Diane Flynn. It's on the opposite side of the street from the elementary school. And it's one lot, it's about 7 acres, I think, and it's being marketed actually right now as 2 acres. And I kept wondering when the A&R was going to appear, and it looks like it finally has. I got a draft copy today to review.
That's not the Brown property, the Newburyport Press.
No,
No.
no.
The frontage for the two lots would be off of Hanover Street?
Off of Hanover Street, yeah. Yeah, so I think one of the lots is an acre and the other will be 6 acres. There's some wetlands in the back. And it's kind of a bungalow-style building with bushes in front of it and awnings, aluminum awnings, yeah.
Oh,
Is-
yeah, in
is
fact, I
that-
just drove by, I know exactly what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that the one that haven't mowed the lawn and there's a for
Yes.
sale sign?
yes, 2 for sale
Two
signs.
for sale
right.
signs, yeah.
And right now, it's only 1 lot, but they've been marketing it
It's
as
a
2.
good marketing ploy.
Yes.
I think, if I may suggest, at the time, if we observe that something goes on the market and it cannot be actually marketed that way because it is not divided, we should get to the Realtor and say, desist. Because frankly, that's breaking the law in this state.
Yeah,
Legally,
that's-
they can't sell it that way.
Right, they
The
can't.
other
Right.
way.
Right, they-
They're
They
required
can't
by
sell
law
it, they
not
can't
to.
advertise.
Right, but as a result, they
Shouldn't be
can also
advertised.
not.
They really should not be advertising.
No,
it
they,
that way.
they cannot advertise it for sale. Now, in a couple of cases, I know that the slippery answer was, well, we haven't listed it, but damn it, the sign's sticking in the ground, right? So where's the difference? And I just think that occasionally, how shall I say, if we, stamp our foot politely but firmly, people do take notice and stop doing that kind of thing, because it isn't fair either to buyers or to a neighborhood to see that kind of thing going on.
No, it's an issue. And people who, I didn't contact the broker, but people who have been coming in asking about the property, I've made it very clear that it hasn't been divided yet. And
Right, yeah, because now, I mean, you can go online
Ask
and,
Martha
yeah.
to make a phone call then?
I think so. I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
think
would
that
like
makes
to
sense.
have the Realtor, reminded that that can't happen until such time. Even though it may be the intent of the owner, it's not legally possible.
And find out, one of the issues here, right, George, would be what they're saying,
Yes, but if nothing else, with the 2 signs up, it appears it would be at least by the owners a misrepresentation
Yeah.
of the buyers or potential buyers.
Well, it is
So it's-
actually, it's listed, since I've been going through
Oh, so-
listings,
right,
it's
yeah.
listed as both 1 property and 2 properties, one with the house and one without.
Oh, really? So it,
So it is optional then?
no,
Well, it's,
No,
no.
it's being
I mean, yeah,
listed
they are,
as.
but no, they're saying, we can do this,
Right.
and you don't know that you can do this yet.
And what that is a carryover from the problem we have statewide, which is the A&R permit is not a very good idea. And so the attitude is being, well, if we know we will get an A&R, then we can just proceed and do what we
Right.
want to do, and you can't.
my guess would be that they may go through the A&R process and then keep the option to either sell the whole thing as 1 lot and not record the A&R, or sell it as 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we'll
All
see.
right. So actually, we have no action to take on anything. Can I make a suggestion on and see what people think, that the old business of talking about the overlay district that Kathleen has submitted to us, maybe put on, not hold, but we hold that for a while, get to the new business, because they look like we can go through those issues pretty quickly. Am I right?
It's just the same.
Okay. Although, do you have a new agenda that I can see? Did you put on I have my old one that I just
Didn't
printed.
I thought I put one out for you, if not.
I probably just didn't grab it. Do you have one? Yeah, you do. So I think that the issue here, George and I were at the Board of Selectmen meeting on last Tuesday, and Linda's letter of request to be appointed to the ZBA was not tabled, but put on hold until the selectmen have asked that the ZBA go back and solicit requests. I don't know what Eric is going to do, and I haven't heard from him. And so I'm thinking maybe we ought to advertise for the associate's position. We've talked about that in the past, and just see what happens with that. And if Eric steps forward, he steps forward. But I think that we can't really wait for that to happen. What's your sense, John?
I have no problem doing that. I think it makes sense, and I don't think Eric would be offended by that. I think he would understand,
Okay.
given that he's
Right,
Juggling.
he's juggling both of
At this
these.
point.
So,
Has to go on, so.
any comments on that issue?
I agree it should be done sooner than later.
Yep,
So, do we need to take a vote on this, that we vote to, or do we just ask you to do it?
I think we need to take a vote since it's spending money.
Okay, can I have a,
I'm so moved.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then.
What do you do, just call up Jennifer?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's not a legal ad or
We're
anything.
not
It'd
gonna
just
do
be
that,
just
yeah.
a
It's not
little
illegal,
Right.
it's just
PR.
that Jennifer writes a letter saying
Should
we're
just-
looking for the impossible task of replacing George Morse.
Thank you, John.
And see how that goes,
Okay, and I'll also
see if we get it in quickly.
get something on the website.
Okay. And then, so the other one is the inclusionary zoning workshop. Do you want to just give a summary of that?
Sure, well, I can give a summary of the ones that I went to.
You can.
John and I went to an inclusionary zoning workshop, which was sponsored by the Mass branch of the APA on the 14th down at Devon's. And I thought it was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Judy Barrett gave the opening, she was kind of the coordinating person, and she gave the opening remarks, and then they had a series of separate sessions that one could go to. And I went to one on legal issues related to inclusionary zoning, and one on, what was the other one? And Mark Bobrowski actually was at the legal issues one, and the other one was on effective inclusionary zoning, and they talked about, you know, the fact that you actually can't mandate it now. You can incentivize it, but you can't mandate it. You know, they talked about ways to build what they called more economically integrated neighborhoods, you know, what you can ask for from a developer. And they had, for the one on effective inclusionary zoning, they had somebody from different sized communities, a woman from Groton, and a woman from Shrewsbury, and a woman from Arlington, and actually a woman from Cambridge, all talking about their experiences, and they're all different because of the size of their communities. And they made the point that this, you know, inclusionary zoning isn't a way to kind of get around 40B, but, you know, if you have it, you might be able to at least say that you're, you know, working on some sort of a, you know, housing production plan or whatever. And the one on the legal perspectives actually kind of went through some of the same information, actually. So, you know, I came away thinking that it's possible, but we would have to really kind of think about how to do it. And how
Right. I went to two. One was kind of like marketing it, and the other one was how do you make sure that the units that are created count. One of the things that I was surprised at was that a good number of the speakers that we had were from the city of Boston, who was doing a lot of work, and that's just so different than a suburban environment that's trying to do inclusionary. Boston has had an inclusionary requirement for almost 30 years, and it's just the way of doing business, you know, and they have a 15% requirement. Some of the suburban developers were interesting, and the thing that you really come away with, especially in the suburbs, is that they said, well, it's very simple. If I have a 10, 15, or 20% requirement, I simply do my pro forma, and then I decrease my offer to the buyer, to the seller of the land proportionally. And so if it was $1 million and my hit is 200,000, then I offer $800,000 for the property because I can't absorb whatever the number of units I have to build. So whatever that is, that's the way I approach it. And so in terms of land value, that does work if everyone has inclusionary. Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if a lot of towns don't, then those towns that don't usually would become more attractive for investment than those towns that do have it. So, on the other hand, a lot of towns that do have inclusionary are places like Cambridge that are so hot in terms of the real estate market that it doesn't make any difference right now. One of the things that came to me was a town which sounded kind of similar to ours, and I was surprised at the amount of open space they had in it and the amount of wetlands, which is Groton. And Groton has, I think, 11,000 residents. Do you have that? Did you
Yeah, I
take
do,
that
'cause-
data?
Yeah, I did, because somebody from Groton also spoke at the one I went to. Their land area is 32 square miles, their population is about 11,000, open town meeting. They have 41% of their land area is permanently protected open space. They have the CPA, 2 ACEC areas, and they have 208 dwellings on the subsidized housing inventory, or 5.2%.
So they're at 5.2, we're at like 3.6. Is that where we are right now,
Oh, we're that
3.6?
high now?
I think
Yeah,
we were
we're
3.
Well, we were 4.3, and we've gone down to 3.6 because we've had
3.6.
more development.
More development without inclusionary.
And she also said that 50% of their affordable housing has been done through 40Bs, and 50% has been done through inclusionary zoning. And the affordable units are spread throughout the town.
But, you know, I've often said that, you know, Newbury has a lot of uniqueness, and it's difficult to get those things done here, but Groton seems similar. They may have some better land that is developable than we have.
Do they have the infrastructure?
Yeah, they do. I mean, Groton's they've got a prep school, we've got a prep school. I mean, it's got a,
But they have water
they,
and sewer,
they have
though.
Lawrence Academy and,
Prep schools.
yeah, they do. I don't know about water and sewer. I didn't ask them that, but
No, they don't.
I would imagine
No,
that they,
I've used Groton in a number of
Have you?
ways as a,
Yeah.
because they are in some ways comparable, but in other ways not at all.
and then the final, and then we can discuss it, the final aspect which I found interesting is that in the suburbs, mainly because I think that it's the disposition of the individual towns, that I heard anyway, that they're pushing for sale. And I've often contended that that's so uneven in terms of the subsidy that's necessary to get it to a low or a low moderate income household, that if the selling price is 800,000, it means that, you know, the selling price for the subsidized unit's like $300,000 or something like that. So it's it sets up a disequilibrium and an uncomfortable one if it's, let's say, 10 units and you get 2 units that are affordable. But they're pushing for it, and they say that they are counting them. In the city, they're almost all done as rentals, so that's my experience when we had these discussions ourselves. So it is interesting. I still personally think that a rental is better because you can keep it affordable for a longer period of time, and it's not difficult to do. But when you have a single-family home that's affordable, and then if you buy it for 300,000, you will be limited about your equity capture. You can only basically do what the market has. You can't sell it for the 800,000 that it would be worth. You can sell it for 325. And so it limits your ability to play the real estate game as others are. So, and there's lots of arguments on both ways on that. You know what I mean? That you at least got to be able to invest in real estate, and you coming out and you bought a house. So I don't know. I still think it's something that we ought to spend some time on to see if in fact it's something we think we might be able to do here. I note that there was an article in the paper yesterday that I sent to you, but I don't know if I sent it to everyone else, that in the West Newbury is considering did you see that one about the 30-unit complex in West Newbury, that subdivision?
There was something a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, is that Cottage Advisors, that one?
They're from New
Whatever,
Hampshire.
yeah.
And it's 30 units, and interestingly, the size of they're single-family detached, and the size of the units is between like 1,500 and 1,800 square feet, which is really quite small.
It is.
What your project is?
25, 2,600.
Right, so these are very small units, and 3 will be inclusionary in West Newbury, and so I didn't know they had the provision in their zoning code. So it'll be interesting I think maybe we'll just see how that goes. But they're talking about they call it something different, but it's an OSRD. And they got a density bonus because they did the OSRD.
Yep.
And then after they got the density bonus, they also are, I think that of 30 acres, or 24 acres, only 6 was gonna be developed. So that's
That's very dense.
Really good.
so on 6 acres, you're gonna basically put 30 units. That's
5
quarter,
units.
quarter
That's
acre.
really
quarter acre lots.
packing them in.
That's quarter, it's like,
But are they,
Ralph's
Like
Lane was
Montgomery
smaller.
Park or Riverview
or
Drive.
it's what
Mark
DePiero just did.
right. Right.
yeah,
Wilshire
but
Road.
are they in fact single-family homes?
You know, this is just a newspaper report. I can't go further than that. It's worth our while, I think. Martha, do you know the planner there?
Yeah, G. Nelson.
Could you
yeah.
find out the details of that? I think that'd be worthwhile.
Well, they already, what is the over 55 development they have?
Up on the hill?
Yeah, on the south side of the road there. That's, I thought that also had a couple of
Inclusionary?
inclusionaries in too.
I don't know.
Was that Ocean Meadow?
Ocean Meadow.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no ocean there.
I was up there, I never saw the ocean.
Well, you have to stand tall.
So anyway, so I think it was worthwhile. I'm glad we went, and we learned something, and so I think it's something in our work program this year we may want to take a look at. 2 other things I wanted to go over, with George coming on the board and David potentially going off. I'm wondering if we could arrange another MyMap training through Gerard before you, or sometime this summer.
Yep.
And also with the potential that Kathleen may as well. I mean, it's, all of a sudden, our MyMap expertise is gonna be diminished substantially. So if we could have that training, that would be great.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep, I can talk about that, right?
And then I was hoping, you know, in reading over the minutes from last week, we do talk about looking at subdivision regs and small lot subdivisions, not lot, yeah, I guess small.
Yeah,
It's small lot subdivision.
Avoiding the complexities of a full subdivision.
And looking at the master plan, but I'm wondering if each of us, for the next meeting, which will be the 19th, might start thinking about your own individual priorities for next year, and then we can talk about them and what we really want to do as a board. And just see, you know, if we have 10 or 15, then let's see if we can boil them down to what's ever a manageable number. But let's come up with, you know, if you each can come up with 3 that you think are important, that you would be interested in working on. And it may be that we can do some things on our own, but usually I thought was very impressed last year and the year before with the little subgroups that got together and carried the ball for like 3 or 4 months and then came back and reported in and did a considerable amount of research and really got some things done, so let's, if we can put that on the agenda for next time, that we'd review individuals' priorities and then see what the board wants to focus on.
I got some thoughts on the master plan and how to go about it, which we can, want to deal with it then at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just on the master plan, just a quick aside, after the Board of Selectmen meeting on last Tuesday, Frank came up to me, they had an issue before the board and indicated again that they and Marshall wanted to sit down and go over some issues with us, but I haven't heard, you know, back on a date, but that they'd like to sit down with us pretty quickly. So that's one aspect of the master plan, and I've certainly indicated an interest in looking at how land use decisions affect, you know, the finances of the town. But the other thing is, of course, this thing about global warming and sea level rise, and I just, this is just a thought that I had, that it just seems to me that Salisbury, Newburyport, Newbury, Ipswich, Rowley, every one of these, and Essex, all have the same sea level rise.
Exactly. Yeah,
There's nothing different,
absolutely.
and the potential impacts are all the same. So there's got to be a role for either MAPC or Merrimack Valley or somebody, or maybe it is the state, I do note that Doug is now officially on this erosion.
On the board.
Right, Coastal Erosion
Coastal
Commission.
erosion, and it would be very interesting if maybe we could find out, well, what's that gonna be about? I mean, are they gonna set, not standards, but in other words, the most successful in New York, they've been able to say, well, here are two scenarios for sea level rise, and the town and the city is starting to respond to that. We really don't have that here yet. And so if we had somebody who was saying to us, all of you towns, this is what you need to plan to. Everybody do the same. Not Newburyport one level and Newbury another level, but this is what's in the future. So it seems to me that there's a lot of stuff out there that's gotta come to us, and then we can respond to it. So I don't know how long.
Well,
this-
I think it would be a good idea for you and Martha, in view of what's gonna happen with me, but I will do it before I go, to reach out to Peter Fippin at MVPC, who,
Yeah.
okay, that's PHIPPEN. And he is the coordinator for 8 Towns and the Bay, and also for this very initiative for the Regional Planning Commission.
Okay,
And, you know, there is stuff underway, and I think they're still in the process, they being really the state and the regional planners, of getting their act together. And I think part of it is compounded by just what you were mentioning, and that is the fact that most estimates differ, you know, by factors of
Huge
100%
factors, sure.
in some cases, also time factors.
right.
I think what the communities you're talking about are dealing with largely has been responded to in terms of emergency planning, because the commission was required to, what's the thing called, Martha?
It was the multi-hazard mitigation.
Yeah, the
plan.
hazard mitigation plan.
Right,
Which, you know, I found to be a funny title, because most people see hazards as things like you have to drive around on the highway. You know, they don't sort of see it as weather and wind and all of those kinds of things. Anyway, that plan has been drafted, and actually I think we got rather good marks for being,
We were the first
yeah,
to
being
be
good
completed.
guys. Yes.
Really?
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not surprising, because we've suffered, I think, more need to have our emergency services integrated with all kinds of other stuff
Right.
because of Plum Island.
right.
But I think to some degree, my perspective is a little bit that is the only thing right now which has a structure that you can kind of bounce things off.
I think
But
you're
it's
right.
largely focused on, you know, the insolvable problems of if the bridge to the island sticks and the guy has the heart attack, or the lady for that matter, what do you do? Do we have a boat? You know, do you have a ramp? All of those kinds of things.
Is Ipswich in MAPC or
Yeah,
here?
they're MAPC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rowley?
Rowley's in us.
Yeah,
MVPC.
MVPC,
Is
yeah.
in, Merrimack Valley, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we need to talk to Doug.
David, do you know, has there been any success in finding a replacement for Alan yet?
Yes,
Okay.
Not at liberty to say.
yes, there was a public announcement. They have appointed a guy who, I don't know whether he's already resigned and, you know, taken a vacation, but prior to this was the current development planner for the MBTA. And further than that, I really don't want to go publicly, not because it isn't public, but because I am in total disagreement with his appointment.
Okay, all right.
So he will be, his role will be a little different from Alan's then, probably, if he's not.
I have no idea. He has no particular expertise in the area.
Okay, and now my last issue on new business was that on Caldwell, I'm still waiting to get some information from Ginny. She's had some litigation on that property out on Plum Island that she's had to be working on. She's doing a couple of days worth of that, and so I'm waiting to get back on those issues that we talked about, David, relative to the legality of the parking spaces and this and that. whether we can do that. And Martha's working on some costs, and hopefully we have them by the end of the week. And then just one final note is that I got a note from Randy Gould, who is the new contact that we have at Caldwell, saying that Steve McCarthy is the new president of the HOA, and so we look forward to working collaboratively with Steve. So, and they indicated that they, also were, in kind of a shifting period with Jerry leaving, et cetera, so perhaps that timing works for us, so we look forward to it. Anybody else want to add anything else before we get back to the High Road issue?
Want to do the liaison report?
Yeah, let's do them all, and we'll do that last. Board of Selectmen, well, aside from, you probably all know that Jeff is the new chair, and who's the vice chair is Chuck.
Chuck.
And Chuck is the vice chair. And the meeting was kind of quiet. The only thing which is, I previously reported was the issue of Linda on the ZBA. Whether,
I just want to clarify that I ran into Linda the day after. She did not know that she was on the agenda.
I guess Kathy, I had mentioned it to her that she was on the agenda, so.
She didn't know. When I saw her, she didn't know that she was going to be on the agenda.
so, the Board of Selectmen would, kind of said, well, if someone's on the agenda, they ought to be here, and so that was a snafu for her. But they also said they're only gonna meet once in June, once in July, and once in August. So I wasn't aware of that. So we are now still on ours. We're gonna meet one more time in June. Then we have one meeting in July and one meeting in August, pending that we don't have any major issues that are coming forward.
That's us you're
That's
talking
us.
about.
But the BOS the Board of Selectmen is meeting just once in June on the 17th.
17th.
Once in July on the 24th, I forget. Well, I don't remember, and then once in August. So we'll do something similar. And-
Just on the BOS, for the next meeting, the Municipal Building Committee, Eric is going to be giving a presentation.
On the 17th.
On the 17th, if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I think I might want to be there. You think of anything else that was?
No.
This is at the selectmen's meeting.
At the
Yeah.
Selectmen's meeting, yeah.
David, anything for new? and-
No, except we just covered the
Yeah.
appointment, and otherwise, no.
Concom?
No, nothing really hot going on right now.
And you wouldn't know anything about the ZBA? Have you been to the ZBA meeting as our
Martha
new
forwarded
delegate?
me a notice. They meet on June 19th.
Okay. So let's then return to Route 1A. And,
So, at our last meeting, I initiated the conversation on the overlay district on Route 1A, and I came forth with a couple paragraphs of thoughts. And then, over the past week, I put together a very rough draft of 3 pages. I don't expect to go through it all tonight, because some of you, I don't think, have seen it.
David, you have one?
David hasn't seen it?
Yeah, I've got, that's
I have it.
changed.
Oh, you have it? Do you-
Is
do
I've
you
got
have
it.
one?
I've got it.
No.
All right.
I've got,
It hasn't changed, has it?
Has it changed?
Did you see it?
No,
The
but
new
from
one?
what
Oh,
David
okay.
has to what you were
No,
just passing out.
No, I have
no, this is
yellow
identical
lines
to
on
what
it.
I've
Okay,
got.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
All right.
That's the same as the highlighted version.
So would
Yeah.
you like to go through it all, or do you just want me to pull out a couple topics to discuss?
Why don't you start with what you consider the hot ones, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well,
We
I
got
think
a short
the
meeting.
first one that I wanted to discuss was the setback. But we talked about having an offset.
Mm-hmm,
So we
200
have
feet.
the boundaries of the district be from the south, the Rowley boundary, to the north, to Ralph's Lane, Hanover Street intersection, and then having an offset. And the question came up last time is, well, how far off the road should that offset be? So what I did is I went through, and unfortunately, I don't know if we just wanna pass around the color one, because the black and white ones aren't that great. But what I did is I pulled a few of the properties,
Oh,
And
good.
the first one that you'll see
Siemens?
is the, is it called In the Barn, down by the
Yeah.
Parker
Yeah.
River?
Right.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to see is, okay, let's look at some of the existing properties and see how far off those buildings are. Now, is the, granted, you have to have a setback probably and all these things to it, but just give a nice idea.
It's
No,
interesting.
no,
No, that's very, very
So,
worthwhile.
The first one is, you'll see that the building, the barn itself, is about 90 feet, 100 feet off of the yellow line,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if that is supposed to be the right-of-way, Martha, or is that's supposed to be the parcel line, right, the yellow, approximate?
Right, it would be the edge of the right-of-way and the beginning of the property line.
I was actually kind of surprised it's that small because it's at the highway, but it is. The next one is if you're going north on 1A, you know that nice building that's kind of a coral color across
Oh,
from
right,
it?
where Ashwell used to be.
There used to be
It's this
something
one.
It
there,
was an
right?
antique store.
Antique store, yeah.
Very brief, though.
It's this one right here.
Right.
Yeah.
So that one is about 150 feet to the back. And then the
And you
next
say,
page,
sorry, when you say to the back, to the.
Of the
Oh, I
structure.
see
The
the lines,
structure.
okay, I see it, sorry.
148 to the back of the
the
structure.
back
Yep.
of the structure. And then the next property is the one that's for sale south of the Lower Green. Do you know the,
Oh, the Menacachis.
Wait a minute. The one of the south.
do you know where the
south-
Lower Green is?
Oh, yeah. This is all the blue doors.
It's one of
Yeah.
Dr.
Right, am I right?
Humphrey's
It's all got
properties,
blue
right?
doors?
Unoccupied for
Yeah, he
150
did have
years.
anyway.
Oh,
And here's the
This
Lower
is
Green itself.
The green is
It's a
here.
very old
green-
house.
yeah, the green is
Yeah.
right
It had a
here.
bunch of structures.
Yeah, that's a Humphrey
Right.
So I thought the
property.
structures kind of thought maybe this might be a possibility because it's kind of in that little area where there was antique
Yeah.
shops. And this one is just under 200 feet setback.
Well, one of the questions, though, is that, so it may be in a property like this, that the place where they want to sell from is maybe one of these outbuildings instead of, this is the residence, isn't
I
it?
did 200 feet to this one.
Oh, to that one.
Yeah, maybe you should
Yeah.
pass this
Oh,
one
see, I
around.
can't see, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's-
Oh, that's
it's
perfect.
okay, yeah.
That's perfect.
The
Yeah,
further
that actually
structure.
works out.
That's absolutely
Okay.
correct.
The interesting thing, however, is the road on the Lower Green is not a public way.
That's why I took it from the high road and not from that dirt road.
Right, but interestingly, they would have to have access from that road.
How do they, don't they get into their,
Yeah, they
Park with it.
do, I know.
they use it?
Yeah, I mean, so does everybody else, but the interesting thing is, it came up as being a major
Okay.
event when Hamani was trying to subdivide his property.
Yes.
And it isn't a statutory public way.
The next structure is on the north of the Lower Green, is that barn where they used to sell the antiques.
Right, Dick Joyce.
Dick Joyce
And by
Bike
the
Shop.
way, they're working on that right now. I drove by last night and they had one of those grade all, things that you manipulate yourself, and they were taking down siding and putting new siding up and doing, I mean, significant work.
Has Dick sold it? 'Cause
Significant
he's
work.
not
Now,
terribly
somebody is
well.
John
planning,
Siemens bought it.
Who did?
John Siemens bought
Okay.
it.
and they're planning to run a business based on a grandfathering which doesn't exist, but anyway.
Right, right.
And so that structure right there is less
Do you-
than 100
And,
feet.
and do you know what they're planning on?
No, Martha,
Yeah, it's like artisan
Oh, all that
kinds of.
stuff.
art-
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Artisan stuff.
exactly the kind of thing we're talking about,
I
but,
think so.
you know, a bit premature.
Now, the next one is.
Why is it that always happens?
Jeff Walker's. Now, this one is about just under 400 feet setback.
Hmm.
Now, one of the things that I was thinking of when we were proposing this overlay was it was more of a streetscape, like you're driving by and it'd be like things. I'm really concerned that this could evolve into things like back of pork chop type lot situations, and
Well-
that's what I don't wanna have happen.
Did you notice his frontage?
Well, those pork chop lots were legal back then.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
but I just found it interesting because I happened to go the same place. But before we come off that map, notice what is across the street. And that is across the street is the beginnings of a whole row of little lots and little properties,
Right.
which in many ways don't seem to lend themselves at first glance to the kind of uses we're talking about. Maybe, I just raised that. as a-
So next was.
So, by the way, let's comment on that, because maybe we have a requirement that,
We're gonna get to that. If you just keep going, we're gonna get to that. Right now, we're doing offsets. We're not doing the other ones.
Fine.
You're changing the topic. Stay on topic.
Sorry.
So, this one was just under 400 feet. The next one
Right.
is Tendercroft Farm. And
Yeah.
even though Tendercroft Farm is an agricultural use, I just wanted to show
No,
you
that's
that
good.
that the store itself is 134 feet off to the back of the structure, 200 to the new little animal barn, and if I even went the furthest far back is about 240 feet. So it gives you kind of an idea of what's currently working in that area.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, can I just make a quick comment? The one thing that I don't
It's very
think you did notice, but isn't here, just up the street from there are the equestrian operations, all of which, because of the nature of them, are considerably back from the road,
Right?
right? So there, we have sort of two envelopes going on Route 1, depending on the use.
But right now we're focusing on antique shops and
Yeah, but just remember that some of those things may over time lend themselves to other kinds of uses.
how are
because-
they're allowed now just because they're agricultural?
Because, yeah, which is really questionable in my
But I'm not,
estimation.
my goal was not to develop a new business district on Route 1. That's
No,
not what
okay.
I'm proposing, and I'm not suggesting that in the future we can't expand upon something, but I think that we should start small
Mm-hmm,
and get something
Great.
that's more aligned with
Yep.
what's currently working out there, and move on if we decide later on, or someone proposes that they wanna expand it or change it, then we look into it. But I don't wanna go in and make this huge district, cause first of all, I don't think it's gonna fly if you do that along that area.
When you say huge, you mean just geographically huge?
I don't wanna have this offset that's gonna make it possible to have businesses behind the residential
Going back
homes.
500 or 600
I
feet?
just think that that's gonna stir up so much
Right.
problems. And
Yeah.
that's not the intent of what I'm trying to do, or I don't know the board's trying to do. If we wanna go there on the next step, or the next, the next town meeting, I think that would be fine, but have someone at least initiate the interest before we go ahead and do that.
yeah, no, I think you got a
Fine.
good point.
So that gets back to the setback. So I know that Martha had mentioned maybe going as far back as Jeff's place, but I personally think it's too far. And I guess I'd like to hear from everybody again to see what they think about the proposed 200 feet.
Well, it doesn't mean that Jeff couldn't make it work by having something closer,
No, well, Jeff's grandfathered in anyways.
right?
Jeff has.
Oh, he's grandfather? If he's grandfather, we couldn't. But I'm just saying, he could
And-
build a little shack, couldn't he? 200, within 200 feet and sell decoys out of it?
Well, it might be tough, given his property, which is a whole other issue. See,
Okay.
his property is kind of oddball.
But he doesn't have an issue right now, does he?
No,
No,
So
not
we're
that
not
I know of.
trying to
So I'm ju-
change anything
I know, I
on
was
his-
just saying you could put something right
This
there.
is frontage right here.
I thought this was it here.
Nope, goes this
he comes under.
Oh, you've got, where's the 379?
from the property.
Oh, I see,
Yeah,
that's just
from the
that.
back of his decoy shop to the,
Look at this one.
to Route 1. But he doesn't come up as an issue because he's under home
Okay.
occupation
Right,
anyway.
okay,
Right, and I don't think he's not planning to
Okay.
expand to a retail,
All right.
Oh,
walk-in
no,
retail
no,
business
no,
or anything
no,
like that.
well, so that's excellent. What I was gonna propose, but maybe this is enough for the time being, was that we simply take a map and take 200 feet on either side of High Road and see what.
See where that goes.
What does it give us? You could do that, couldn't you, on the mind map or something like
Yep.
that? Would you?
You know,
Yeah.
the question I have is you'd wanna have an offset from, so as long as that structure was within the 200 feet, or would you have a setback
Don't
from-
know. I think it's helpful if we drew a line on both sides and see what it does.
I tried to do a map, and it's such a long area, it's multiple maps, but we could do it, but
No, we could do it
She
and
can do
just
it.
paste it together or whatever.
Well, my sense is,
you have the plotter too,
yeah,
you have the plotter, you can
Yeah, I
work
could
off
do
of.
that.
yeah, you can do it on that.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I mean, I think that'd be worthwhile.
My sense is it's going to include most of the, what I would call modest properties in terms of their square footage.
And that's where you have to take a look at, well, you're asking to put some more uses on the property, therefore, there probably ought to be minimum lot size.
Can we get to that part and then,
Yeah,
in the,
You don't
Sure.
like it
Rules by law?
anytime I try to do that, you
because
don't like
you're
that.
jumping around and I wanna get out of here. and I
I'm just trying to respond to Mr. Powell.
No. So then if we come down, is number 2 on 97.4. I don't know how we do this, but it was a question of if we're gonna allow people, let me pass this out first. This currently is the requirements for a home business. This is Byfield. Oh, this is Ipswich. I have the wrong one here. Got copied.
well, is this out of our zoning?
Yeah, but you don't have your zoning, right?
Yeah, I do.
I will photocopy it off of mine.
They're very broad, though. They don't have to deal with that.
What I had to do is why the current antique shops are not legal.
Oh,
This may
right, yeah, sure.
have a rather large turnout for the public hearing. I can
Think so.
see something commercial on High Road as being an emotional issue
Yeah.
with a lot of people.
So, you know,
And I think, unlike our normal public hearings, I think there'll actually be people here with things to say.
and I think that's fine, because I think it's an interesting idea, and we have to see
Yeah.
what support there is for it, and what objections, and what are the nature of the objections.
Sure.
And if it makes sense, then I'm all believe that if it's a good idea, it makes its way through. If it's a bad
I mean,
idea,
it,
doesn't make it.
you know, in part, we're responding to what's already happening. People are wanting to do this
Right.
kind of thing,
Sure.
so.
So we're trying to make it legal.
Yeah.
And the only question is, the word, are we just trying to make it legal, or are we also trying to encourage it? And so that's
Well, right,
what am I doing with this?
So what this is this is the definition right now of Newbury's home occupation. And the first thing is I guess I'm asking the board, should we go through and have the same requirements as in like B, there should only be 2 persons working? I'm assuming yes, right? We're not asking it for a large business, we're looking basically to make these home businesses legal.
You're talking about, you want us to read the grandfathering provision in BA?
no, see,
No, C,
C1B.
customary home occupation.
Yeah.
So the question is how many of these requirements should be incorporated into the proposed?
Well, for B, I think there should be a limit. I think maybe we need to look carefully at the wording. 2 employees probably would not be enough, but 2 people on duty at any time would be a reasonable maximum. Because there's a lot of people that employ 20-hour or less people,
what is-
so they don't have to pay.
Yeah, but John, what does regularly employed mean?
Well, I know, that's what I'm
Yeah,
getting at.
right, yeah.
We need to construct this in such a way that it doesn't keep the people from having adequate staff,
Right.
but yet does not have 10 people on board at any point in time.
One of the nice things about going to our code and simply adopting that is say you're not making any changes in terms of the intensity of what you can do in a home right now.
Yeah,
So that's a lot of attractiveness to me.
So you're proposing to keep it?
I like that.
I was thinking that we would keep it until it became an issue and someone came
Right.
forward and said, you know what, this isn't working.
And that A is correct, it's clearly incidental. All the noise things, that's,
goes
you know, it
without
just has to
saying.
be said. In fact, if you can lift this whole section,
Well, the concern that came was, it's the display on D,
D, I think that's an issue.
and that's what makes the current businesses illegal.
right,
However, my concern was how do you get it where it's, and again, this is all in the eyes
Eye of the
all
beholder, right.
The tastefulness of how many products or goods you're gonna put outside in your front lawn.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I just want to share something with you, okay? This is Searsport, Maine.
So that was kind of my concern when I was
Yeah.
thinking of this.
We got cranes and ibises and all those plastic critters.
All the,
No, it's just, you got toilets and tubs and sinks and lobster buoys.
That's Searsport, is it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Searsport, which is just
That is,
north, there of. Now, I can show you some other
maybe you just
examples
keep
from the
this
same
in.
community that are so different.
Okay. Keep this in as there are none, and then if one or two appear, I mean, it's a small town, and you could just allow one or two. I don't know how to handle that, to be honest.
So should we just wait till it's a problem?
Yeah. Well, David, what do you think?
Well, okay, my sense is that this is going to be an issue, not just the display issue, but it's going to be an issue in a number of areas. And my sense is that what will have to happen here is we will have to have some regulations which indicate sort of the permitted scope, both minimal and maximal, and then they will have to be enforced. And the big issue has always been in this town, and I don't see any great signs of it changing, is that we do not enforce the regulations we have existing.
Well, so you're saying that during their special permit, when they come forward to the Board of Selectmen, that right then and there would be discussed on the quantity or the area of coverage that they'd have in their front property?
Yeah, I think we would have guidelines which would indicate that, you know, you're permitted to do this, but you're not permitted to do that, okay? I think there would have to be some examples. And I think you're getting into the whole area, which is very
So that-
contentious for one thing, and it's very much like design review. So you've got to be aware of, you know, kind of.
Well,
That
it seems
can go
that,
under just the submittal requirements, though. Under
Yeah.
submittal requirements, we can have a description of,
but you could also have what you don't have in there yet is conditions of approval. You have them there, but not under the name of conditions. And under conditions of approval, which you normally do with a site plan review procedure, you can say these are things that we require you to do.
Yeah, but what I'm pointing out is that the kind of thing that happens is we currently have, and without going into names and pack drill, we currently have very clear limitations on what can be done as a home occupation, okay? And one of those has to do with the use of automobile service.
Right.
And that has been flouted so many times in this community, it makes my head spin.
but I was reading this, though, the second line said miscellaneous repair services, and I thought is how they're getting struck.
No, but there's a specific thing that says that that's not one of them, okay?
doesn't say
Not in
here.
here, not in here, no,
But
no,
this
no.
is the description of home business.
No, but it, in another part of the code, okay?
For home businesses, or for what?
For what you can do in residential areas, okay? It's there, I don't, don't ask me to,
So
cite
you're
the
saying that
specific
under,
thing.
under uses for residential, agricultural area, it's not permitted, you're saying?
Right. Yeah.
Right, that's
It's
right.
not a home occupation, it's
Right,
not
right.
accepted as a home occupation.
So
and
I
no other community
I
does.
concur that this is potentially a problem in public. However, what if you had a use that was like Rosie's a bit? And they sold hypothetically gifts and antiques and flowers. And they had flowers in the outside area, in the same way that Tendercrop has flowers that are on display all the
Right.
time.
right.
So,
Yeah.
so those are public wares that are in the public, those are wares or goods and services that are in the public, and I think that's good. I think it adds the vitality and the interest.
She does do that during the summer,
I know. I'm just saying that,
okay.
So maybe we just need to, as David says, be a little more explicit about what it is that we're going to encourage to be able to be out in the public, and say, this is what it is.
Because I think that's one of the differences between what we're talking about here and a customary home occupation, which
well,
is
you-
supposed to be essentially
Particularly
invisible.
Indoors.
The
totally.
architect's working inside, he needs maybe a little sign outside to say AIA or something
Yeah.
like that, and that's it. So it's a bit different. Okay, that's good. Yes,
Alright.
ma'am.
Oh, I wanted to put something in there about regulating hours. And,
Oh, wait, before, that's down further, the 8 PM to 7 AM or something like that.
yeah,
Before we get to that, do we want to be a little broader in our definition and art galleries and gifts? As opposed to just art galleries and antiques? And in this, do we need to put in farm stands, or are they taken care of?
I think farm stands are taken
Yeah,
care of. They're an
right.
allowed use,
They're just an allowed use.
right?
we
But
can,
do you want to
But-
put them in this?
I don't have a problem putting it in there.
Put it, you know what I mean?
But
Put
my
it in
only
here.
concern is they don't fall under these rules and this bylaw, though. It doesn't
Right,
matter
they're
if they
diff-
abide by it.
They're different,
I'd be inclined to not put them in
Don't
here,
put it
to
in.
confuse
This-
this issue.
Confuse everybody
right.
if we do that.
And tender crop is something more than a
Well,
farm
tender crop
stand, so
is
if that's what you're thinking
No,
of.
no, I was
okay.
thinking of the old Iron Moon Farm or whatever it is, or
Iron
I
Moon,
mean, that's,
yeah.
that's part,
Harmony.
that's part of the agricultural use, I think.
Yeah,
that's
he
a-
was covered by, and the problem there is that signage rules are different for that. I mean, there's a
We should
whole,
have one for farm stands, though, because I'm not happy with that sign in the new Iron Moon location.
Well, there are agricultural sign standards, which
yeah, right.
Sam brought to my attention.
For
I
some
didn't
reason, they
realize.
all seem to use chalkboards. Doesn't Colby Farm use a chalkboard too?
I think they do, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that.
That they
They
keep
change
things
things every
Things
day.
change.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
things
that's,
change.
it's just like a restaurant might
No,
too.
that's fine,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
fine. So, anyway, so maybe
But-
expand just a little bit to have art galleries and gift shops or whatever
But I
they
thought,
are.
But
I was trying to avoid that.
Why?
Go ahead, Martha, would you like to say something?
Well, no, I was just thinking, I mean, there are other things, and these are things I was thinking of last time. What if you had an artisan who else, a glass blower who wanted, who worked at home and wanted to sell their glass,
Which is not necessarily an antique shop.
which is not
That's all I'm saying.
necessarily.
I'm looking for a word that, and I think an artisan, some.
Artisan is good, craft.
Artisan and craft
Yeah.
and antiques. Those three words would, I think, pretty well include.
I
Was
would
art
hold the
galleries
gift.
a wrong terminology?
No, that would be.
No, I think art
that-
galleries is okay, but when you get to the antique shops, I think we just need to include more. And we had it in one of the documents that you showed us, and I don't know where it is now. Was it in the?
well, actually, I think, you see, okay, if we use the listing of the home occupations which we accept, right? It's right there. Number
It is right
one,
here.
arts and craft shops.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what.
Tradesman
that's
shops and,
It's good.
okay,
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
And
it's
Mr.
there.
Use that language, okay?
Yeah.
I would hold the gift shop, because they can easily be
Right,
slopped.
that's a
Schlocky.
mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
I was after this, and this existing language, which was done by people who came before us. Who did this? Who did the customary home
I
occupation?
don't
Well,
know-
they
I don't
probably
know when
lifted
that-
it.
Huh?
Why would you think that we would know that?
Oh, because you're the planning board.
It's very common
Very good.
throughout the state.
It's very good. Anyway,
All right,
so
that's-
use
That's
that
all that
language.
I wanted to discuss tonight.
What?
Unless you have comments, we can go ahead.
I do. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got some too.
Okay, why don't you go?
Oh, these are just things that we need to talk about. I don't have anything definitive at this point. Parking could be offensive if you had too many spaces right in front of the house, which most people would prefer not to have anyway, but you probably want to regulate that to some degree.
Right.
Either have it on the side, in the rear, limit it.
Now, I don't know if that would work though, depending on, if you think about the current places, don't they have parking in the front, like the barn and the place that used to have the orange building?
They all have like 2 or 3 spaces that are in turnarounds or whatever, but they don't have,
If you have a barn as a separate building, that's kind of in imitation of a farmyard, which has parking of all kinds of things in it. And I don't think that's a problem. I'm thinking more of a single-family home that has a lawn. And I'm not sure that we want to have that
Well,
lawn filled
okay.
up with cars.
This is a real issue, I think, that we can't avoid, and that is, are we going to be encouraging the development of single-family homes into this kind of concern.
Exactly, I think
And
it needs to be wrung out
my
thoroughly.
issue simply is that, and this was not a criticism of Kathleen, but there was nothing in there about lot size or frontage. Because I think that if you look at our current code, if you've got really two kinds of activities on a lot, and those activities are public access, and I think I can talk about this as the only person sitting at this table, maybe with the exception of John O'Connell, but even, you had an office in town, right?
Oh, yeah, it's not,
See, I operated
Keep
a
going, keep
home-
going.
well, I operated a home business, okay? Except when I got permission to do that, I undertook not to advertise, not to have a sign, okay? And I said I would not have the public, in other words, someone coming up my driveway because they saw a sign or because they saw something in the newspaper or whatever. Because that was not the kind of business I was running. I was running things for clients who might come.
yeah, same here, I don't have walk-in
They
business.
needed to find you.
Yeah, essentially. Well, they needed to be an established situation, but at the same time, personally, I did want a big enough lot so that my business activities were in a separate they had to be actually, in my case, in a separate building. But I wanted them that way because it made good sense. And in my case, it was lucky because the space was the first space you reached, okay? The residence is behind.
So let's take, your house is selling,
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
right? And the new buyer decides they want to sell duck decoys out of your workshop, or whatever.
Well, actually, there's
Pheasants.
some talk of a pottery.
Stuffed
and I
pheasants,
don't know
a pottery,
whether- yeah,
pottery barn,
Yeah,
they can do that.
No, they
no,
can't.
no, they can't if they want to have a retail business.
Right, they could have their studio and
They could have
create it
their
there, but they
studio
have
there.
to sell it elsewhere.
Yes, they'd have to sell it. Or they could do it, okay, one of the things I had to explain to the building inspector then, he's no longer with us, literally, was they could do it on a wholesale basis.
Right.
Because it would be perfectly possible to, as long as you didn't have some huge truck coming to pick up stuff, you could in fact not be catering to the public, you would be
Okay.
wholesaling. So,
All right.
I was kind of thinking that because there's such a diversity of lot sizes and buildings along 1A, there would be more of a percentage of square footage that would be used for the business versus the residential. So it didn't become a commercial property with a small residence.
So like we did with the accessory apartments, that we came up with a ratio
yes.
of the amount of space to the amount of structure.
I think we're gonna have to do something
we have to do
like
something
that.
Well,
like that.
many towns do. Many towns have a 25% or 30% mandatory ratio.
Yeah, so I think that your question at the end of allowed uses is that we need to work on a ratio. And for the time being, I don't mind a 4-to-1 ratio, but I don't know if that's right. I just don't know.
Now, the other-
When you were talking about frontage, does it really matter? Because some of these lots might not have the adequate frontage right now, like they might have.
Well, I think I'm looking at also the sort of, in part, the politics of this too. Currently, we have a set of regulations which essentially says that any commercial activity has to, in a commercial zone, has to have a 200-foot frontage, right? We also have, in another area, we have a requirement that if you have 2 units on any lot, the lot either has to be 80,000 square feet if it doesn't have town water, or, water to the site, or 60,000 if it does. So I think if you suddenly are permitting 2 activities going on, perhaps in 2 different buildings, okay, then you need to be at least reasonably coherent and say, all right, are we going to permit someone to erect a structure which may not create a percentage of lot problem, but does create a problem that now it's done on a lot that isn't even conforming to the 1 acre, which is standard for
No, I
residential.
mean, you don't want to encourage somebody to do that. No, in fact, you can't, because
Right.
you won't be able to do it. I mean,
But-
You wouldn't have the room to do it anyways. I guess that I was thinking that this was more existing structures,
Mm-hmm.
but there must be some out there that you could do something on. I don't know.
There's some big lots and there's small lots.
There's a lot of small lots.
And now
Yeah.
we gotta like start tiering this into like, that's why I think we should just start small. Let's not go.
No, I agree with starting small, but I think that we do have to have a clear understanding of what kind of lot will be able to participate and what should not. David pointed out the small lots across from Jeff's, and those, on the face of it, I think I know which ones they are. I would say those should not qualify, because they're chock-a-block right next to each other. There's not
they're-
enough room.
They're deep lots.
They wouldn't meet the parking requirements.
Parking would be an issue.
They
See,
would
that,
already be-
they,
they'd be-
I understand they wouldn't, but I'm just saying, so why don't,
But then you've got Rosie's who's operating out of there. I think people park on Plummer's Lane.
they just park on?
Well, that's because she can say she has frontage on, okay?
On both streets.
Yeah, and, since that actually is a public way, despite
I-
its condition.
I actually put in there that they would require frontage on High Road.
Yeah.
Because I was concerned of some of these side streets that
Yeah,
would
no,
fit
I-
back with a 200-foot setback.
I think you have to have frontage on
I
High
agree.
Road.
But now, okay, so then you need to, I think, look at the fact that, all right, so why are we even thinking about this? And I think part of the reason we're thinking about it is, one, to deal with what seems to be the beginnings of a resurgence of that sort of activity, okay? There's one that's happened, there's one that's about to happen.
One that's about to happen, and
Right,
very
but-
close to each other.
And who knows, and,
Right.
so, does it make sense to, in fact, limit the visibility of those kinds of undertakings in a way that, in fact, people don't even know they're there? You have to think about, is it going to be a plus for the town in the sense of bringing tourists to the town or servicing tourists who come?
They
to
can't find the place,
Newburyport?
yeah.
Yeah, I know, I think
Well, people drive down 1A constantly.
certainly the
but-
ones that you just mentioned will be exceedingly visible, or one is and one will be,
Right.
because of their location. And the other one that used to have the little antique thing, the salmon-colored one, if they
Right.
opened up again, that would be highly visible.
Right.
Right.
Well, once,
So
just
three
to-
out of,
Just
you know,
to
was-
show you again, that's what people do when they want visibility. Look at,
They couldn't meet our sign requirements.
well, I know, but just look at what they did, and the fascinating contrast that is to what I just showed you, and it's the same town a mile and a half away, and it's Books.
Where's that?
That's
it's in Salisbury. Searsport?
That's Searsport, Maine.
I-
and
I-
that's
I
a-
never liked Maine.
So,
I like
it's
Maine.
a quite, it's quite well-known,
I like Maine.
used.
Well, okay, I think that we need to have take a long look at, or a short one, at the square footage requirements of the lot, access to them, the depths, and I think that, Martha, if you could, going back to the issue we talked about before, if you could take the 400-foot thing and go down Route 1A and see what that looks like.
400 feet? Or
Yeah.
I thought
Two-
we were doing
200 feet on
200.
each side.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
did-
200 each side. I
Yeah,
see.
Oh,
200 on
okay.
each side. And so then you want to move on, and I think that you raise a lot of questions here that, you're right, exterior storage, and it needs to be tight. Hours of operation, I don't know. I was going to say 7 to 9, but I don't know what anyone else thinks.
I'm not sure 9 will be.
9 a.m.?
7 a.m. to 9.
Oh, no, she has it backwards. She has
Yeah, this
7
is an
p.m.
evening thing.
So let's say it's
How about 8 to 8?
8 to 8, or what, I mean,
7 is too early.
it is.
to
I mean,
start
Tender
off.
Crop opens at 9.
They open at 9.
Yeah.
So have
I
it-
think 9 will be a
Have it
reasonable
9,
opening
9
time.
to 6 or 9 to 7.
Yeah. I mean, stores don't open until 9.
Yeah, 9 to 6. 9 to 6.
And the 8 p.m., I'd be inclined to make that a bit earlier, but I'm not sure I
So
could
from
defend
9
that.
a.m., well, operating
For the
hours
time
of
being,
9 to 6?
For time being, 9 to 6.
Okay,
Would you put that under prohibited or change it to allowed?
Oh,
using
hours
Google?
allowed, just make it allowed,
Okay.
okay? So whatever you need to change that.
I guess I don't quite understand how this would work, because when there's a special permit for the Board of Selectmen, people sometimes just come in and they don't have plans. I'm kind of assuming people would come forward, and I have it in here that they would provide
I think for the time being, that we ought to say the SPGA, because we don't know what the appropriate permitting agent should be.
special granting authority.
So I would just say SPGA.
Yeah.
But until this thing boils up and we figure out what we've got, let's not say who should be doing
Okay.
what, okay?
But should there be a drawing put forth by a professional engineer?
Yeah, I
That's what
wanna
I'm
see
kind of
that.
expecting.
And,
that
I
they
mean,
do
a
that.
lot of this is gonna be the sign control, and make sure you've got the right kind of sign, and it doesn't do what David did.
Does
David
it really
says.
need to be an engineer, though? It could be an architect or landscape architect?
it could be any number of
Anybody.
professionals, but also it could be the homeowner if we're talking about something tiny.
Yeah.
I think the scale matters here.
This gets back to what Eric was talking about when he, at the ZBA.
Oh, right.
How people
Yeah.
will write something down on a piece of paper
Right.
that's not to scale,
And
and
there's
you
no
have
record.
an idea, and if we're gonna be looking at like,
No, I think it's a sign plan drawn to scale.
that's,
Yeah,
not, what's the cost of that?
I don't-
It depends on on the complexity and the size.
But are we talking
But,
about
you know, a
3 grand,
couple
5
of
grand?
thousand per sheet is the rule of thumb. But there's engineering or architecture in that.
but that could be done, if it's a sign, it could be done on an 8.5 by 11.
We're
You know,
talking
For a
about-
sign,
No,
yeah,
no,
I
no,
thought you
I'm
meant a
talking
site
about,
plan.
like, if we're gonna be suddenly having parking there, and again, I'm just trying to understand, because of what Eric brought forth
We need a
at the
site
last
plan.
meeting,
You need a site
You
plan.
I
need a
wanna
site
know
plan.
where the parking's gonna be.
We don't need something on a sheet of, tissue paper. We need something that's a plan.
Well, yeah, but aren't we getting back into site plan review kind of issues? and
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, we are.
There should be a couple of levels here.
Yeah,
Perhaps you're right.
Yep.
And may depend on the size of the proposal, but we need to get plans that we can review.
Right, I think one advice I would give any applicant who sort of says, well, I don't want to do it at that level, I certainly don't have the money, is they can get from the registry the plot plan of their lot. And you
Right.
could at least start there, instead of drawing it on the back of an envelope, you
Sure.
can start with a registered
Of course.
plan.
take the assessor's map and blow it
Or
up.
the assessors,
That's-
there
that
are,
would work.
yeah, there are
That's what most
public,
people do when they first
yeah,
start with their site
exactly,
planning.
there are public resources, and I think part of our job here gets to be essentially, sort of education, in the sense that you have to bring somebody to the point that they can do it.
Right, and I think that's fine, because then, right, that's a good point, well taken.
But things drawn to scale is not an unreasonable request.
Right.
And a lot of people can do that, especially if they're artists, okay?
Right,
And there are people out there that are not terribly expensive that can do it for them.
So.
all of my
so
other
I-
comments,
so I don't
I can
know-
just give to you.
I guess I need to understand is, what would the board like to see as a procedure? Someone's gonna submit an application to the special granting authority. They're gonna pay a fee, which I guess is already set up for special permits, right? All special permits fall under the same fee?
Not necessarily. Something should be specified.
Yeah,
There'll be a fee,
right.
there'll be an application, or just the requirements?
There should be an
There should be an
application.
application.
With
And then-
pertinent questions
Right,
answered.
who's the owner, map and lot, all that stuff.
Right.
And then they're gonna submit a scale drawing, and it doesn't they don't have to hire an engineer to do this, as long as they're using a.
Well, because what we're after here is the sign and the location of parking,
And lighting, I
and
think.
and any exterior
You
lighting.
wanna understand where the, abutters are, the dwellings next to them.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, it's like, at a rather different level, exactly what we went through, it seems to me, with Chrissy, with the children's thing, which is beginning to generate.
Yeah.
It's not as stringent because it's not,
Because we
right.
figured she needed some.
Well,
We waived requirements.
We waived,
basically.
we
yeah,
waived
but I'm
requirements,
also
and we
looking
went
at,
overboard to help her out.
yeah, I'm also looking at the fact that, and if they're listening, I hope they don't get me wrong, but neither her attorney nor her architect really looked at what was going to be required in this process until they got here. And so they all went through a learning process, I think, together with her.
Right.
And
you're
I-
right.
You know, I think that's.
That's a
kind of
very
what
good
happens.
example. I mean, they're doing a lot more work than I would expect. Well, no, that's not true. Could be about the same. Change of sign, a little bit of change of use. They're living in the property. and
Well, they had a
small business.
wetlands
Well, I'm
proximity
gonna
issue
say,
too, that
Yeah,
probably we won't have too much on High Road.
no.
No. In a few places, but not too many.
Do you have any other comments on this?
Yeah, nothing that we haven't talked about to a degree. I think we should, as far as the site plan goes, I think that should be left as a minimum requirement, the simple things that you guys were just saying.
Right.
But reserve the right for the SPG to require engineering design if in their infinite wisdom it is required. I can see some cases where it would be. There are some cases potentially where it could be a wetlands issue where engineering is required by the state. So I would just keep that option, but I wouldn't make it a basic requirement.
Okay, so we have here now, the site plan shall be drawn at 40 scale, stamped by a professional engineer showing drainage proposed and existing contours. Do we want to do that, or do we want to make
I
it a
would
little?
say we don't need to hire an engineer for most of these.
Yeah, I would think not.
No, it should be drawn to scale.
Or
It
say
can be
showing dr-
very,
you-
very deceiving if it isn't.
And you can say showing drainage proposed and existing
Yeah.
contours, you can say that.
Right,
Yep.
and 40 scale may not be
Yeah.
appropriate.
What do
might-
you
Yeah,
think it
20
would be?
scale
20
is a
is-
better
yeah,
number,
that's what
yeah.
I'm
40
thinking.
is impossible for
They
a
won't be
small
able to
site
show
plan.
existing and proposed contours.
What's that?
They won't be able to show existing and proposed contours.
They can't?
How are they gonna do that?
Do you really need them for this unless there's an
Probably
No,
engineer?
it's a small
not. That
scale
would be in
Well-
the category of.
You know what?
If
If
it's
there's-
required.
If there's stormwater issues or wetlands
Yeah.
issues or
You
something
know,
like
based
that,
on,
then,
we'll probably, if you have a site visit, you go out and you say, you know, let's see the contours on this thing, and they'll have to draw them up.
Yeah.
But you don't have to require them. Okay?
Okay.
In some cases, even a 10 scale would be better.
right.
Real
yeah.
small, a single-family home, kind of 10 scale.
Do you want to say drawn between 10 and 20 scale?
Well, they're gonna come
Yeah,
in
that's-
before they do something, right? So let them be advised, let them be told by probably Martha
Yeah,
what scale to draw it at.
okay.
There's no
Okay.
provision in here that requires them to come in before.
Just add that.
And pavement edges is easy, septic system location, well location, not so, and maybe we really don't need that.
I
If
thought
they,
that, I disagree, because what if they're having something with chemicals, or with their artist or something, like, I would wanna know where the well is compared to the storage of their
well,
product.
is that any of our business, or is that a public health, a Board of Health issue?
I would think it's a town issue.
It's a
whoever it
town
is,
issue,
and if they're
certainly,
for the
but
town or for their business.
I'm not sure that anyone besides the Board of Health is qualified to be judging these things.
May not, but we would then send it to the Board of Health for their
Well,
input.
I'm gonna say, part of the circulation is the Board of Health, and frankly, I think it's a responsibility of any homeowner to know where their septic system is and where their
And their
well is, and if they
Everybody should
don't,
know that.
they should know.
That's a good push on our part, so they go out and find out where it
Yeah.
is.
Right.
Everybody should know where
Somebody
it
in
is.
town has to be. review-
Somebody should
someone
know.
has to know when they come forward to
There's a
say-
lot of old places where I suspect they don't know, but proportionally not too many.
It's easy to find out, isn't it? I mean, I've always been able to
Well,
find
the
them.
old systems are a little bit,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you have an
I
old
mean,
cesspool
we got
or
old
something like
systems that aren't
yeah.
even septic tanks, they're cesspools that combine a leaching field
we've
and a
got-
septic
We've
tank.
got new systems that aren't.
Yes,
You don't wanna suddenly
sadly,
put a
you're right.
parking spot
You're
on
not gonna,
top of these.
right, so the point is, we need to find that out,
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, the other thing
Think we
in
do.
this regard, the the water supply from Newburyport ends somewhere down.
And it ends in
Beyond.
It ends
highway
right about,
department.
right about where her house is.
Okay.
One house
so-
beyond the highway
So we have two
department.
House
worlds.
on the other side of the street.
We have two worlds because everybody north of there,
Water, no water.
Town water.
they have town water and therefore they don't have the same rules about septic systems and distances and all the rest of it.
Okay.
Everything south of there
You got
does.
both.
So you have to know where your well and your septic system are, in my estimation, in that area, because you shouldn't be doing things like putting parking lots in.
Well, that's the thing, we can't
Hmm.
approve parking if it's on top of.
Right,
You shouldn't be,
exactly.
well, you
And so everything-
can, but you gotta modify the
And so here's the
field.
deal, everything
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
the first 4 or 5 properties you identified are all south.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, I can't, I don't, maybe it wasn't here, maybe it was Rowley, but there was the classic situation of about 20 years ago, that somebody paved over their well.
Not a good idea.
And when the well had troubles, nobody could find it.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay, so we think we'd do that. Anybody want to add anything else here? I'm going to give you my comments.
Yes, quickly.
Okay,
Going back to page 2, right at the bottom, I think that this whole thing cannot go forward to take place until they are registered with,
This
The
is the
town clerk?
part I was trying to figure out. Like, if someone wants to put a business in, but they're not gonna do it until they get approval, how do they register their business?
well,
To have
because,
that as
what-
a condition. I think
Yeah.
They have to be registered after.
have it as a condition.
yeah, have it as a condition, because they don't have to actually pay the fee until it's,
And you've got it there, register, that it be
yeah,
so in other words, I added here, you just, number 6, conditions for approval. Then you've got them there, and then number B is, okay?
right. And the other thing I would say is you need a written, probably notarized affidavit that the actual owner is aware of the proposed use.
It's not the owner?
Yeah,
That's,
Yes.
okay.
right. Because that, again, is something that happens.
What, how'd you say, it? Written, notarized?
Notarized.
Yeah, notarized. Because then you have something and you can go look at the deed and discover that it actually, they don't own it.
So what I would think we need to do here, Kathleen, is you take everyone's comments, you want to redraw them, then I think you need to get in touch with Ginny. And,
Oh, I don't think I'm there yet.
well,
I'd agree, I think we need to kick it around a little more before we waste Jenny's time on it.
And I'm not
Well-
gonna, I want a couple weeks, probably, at least a
all right,
couple weeks.
I just thought, well, okay, that's fine. Okay,
But after that, once we get to that point, you want me to contact, well, I'll give to Martha, and Martha will forward it to.
Yeah, I'll
Ginny.
forward it
Right.
to her.
And
And-
she'll, I was wondering before we get to that part, if we should actually contact the businesses down by the Parker River to see how they feel about this.
Well, we might want to
next step, not yet.
have a
let's-
public workshop once we're at a.
Once
point
we
where
have, like, the overlay district pretty well conceived, and we know that it's, and it, let's say it is the 200 feet, and we're absolutely comfortable with what that is, and we know exactly what the potential ramifications of the lot sizes are in terms of the ratio of what the business can be to the structure, to the home. And maybe after we've had some back and forth with some selectmen to see what their take is on it, which I think I might wanna do.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so
Yeah.
I've got a note out to Jeff already on it, that I wanna just chat with him about it. So after we've got, then I think we go and talk to so it's maybe in about a month from now, depending on how you do with this. But I just, my major reaction to this, I think it needed legalese, that was my major thing, it had to be restructured in a couple of
Yeah,
places.
this was like rough. This was 3
I know,
hours
it
in the
is.
middle of the night.
No, I know,
just pulling it
I understand
together.
it's rough, but the point is, do we have most of the elements? And my guess is, we have most of the elements, but I think it needs to be further constrained by legal language. All right, anything else
Well,
for anybody?
yeah, just quickly on your last comment there, I would, I think, support what I hear Kathleen sort of saying. I think it's too soon to do that.
To do-
Because, to look at the legal language part of this, because I think you need to go to the workshop community input side of this before you essentially spend time shaping something legally, because, it could be that we're all barking up the wrong tree, or it could be that in fact there's a great
What-
deal of support for that. I mean, I don't know.
I agree with you. There might be no support for
No,
it.
no, no,
Yeah.
I got that. I just want to make sure that the type of ordinance or overlay we're talking about has the appropriate information in it that if, that is correct, and that an attorney, well, maybe we just have to have our attorney look at it. So maybe George really needs to look at it from the perspective of that, but you know what I'm getting at,
I do.
you know? And that we're not coming forward with something, we don't want to have it in a stricture yet, but we want to make sure that the language which talks about the conditions, that talks about the approval process, that talks about those kinds of things is correct. That's all I'm after, and we're not putting too many things ahead of that might be self-contradictory. That's, because I've done that.
Oh, yeah, no, okay, I would agree with that.
But I don't want to cast the document yet.
But you
It's just
see, I
there's a little
think-
bit of give and
yeah.
take.
Okay, what I think tends to happen with Ginny, and this is perfectly okay, because this is what we pay her for, is she tends to look at the tasks she understands that she has been asked to do, and not outside of that, because otherwise she couldn't function. And I think that this process is kind of way outside of that, is what I'm getting at.
It is, and you don't
Yeah.
want to keep reinventing the wheel while you're
Yeah.
doing it.
Right, so I think having George look at it from exactly the point of view you're talking about is, does it cover the bases? Does it set up impossible situation, et cetera? Yeah,
In other words,
fine.
of all the things that you need to have when you're doing it, or are all those elements there? Are we
Yeah.
missing some of those elements?
And frankly, there are examples out there. The Cape Cod Commission has some stuff which is not unlike.
Well, I'd
this,
ask
et
Martha
cetera.
maybe to, fish around and see if the mass planners had anything as well for this kind of a thing.
Yep. So, but I think this is a very good start, and I think, Kathleen, thank you for putting in whatever hours you put in.
3 hours.
The early morning hours.
Don't do that anymore, it's bad for you.
You want me to finish it?
I can just imagine you in high school.
I think we're done. May I have a
Move to adjourn?
move to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.